Kyle Dausman can't drive his own truck. Nothing's wrong with the truck. The problem is that every time he backs out of his driveway in Cherry Hills Village, Colorado, a small black box on a pole reads his license plate, runs it against a database, and tells the nearest cop that the man behind the wheel is wanted. He isn't. Kyle has never committed a crime. Somewhere in Gilpin County, a clerk typed something wrong and tied his plate to another man's warrant. One mistake, and the machine repeats that mistake for him, every few blocks, to every officer within range. So he gets pulled over, again and again. In his own town, the cops know his face by now and clear him in a stop or two. Drive one county over, past cameras that have never seen him, and the alert fires fresh. Arapahoe County alone has at least 283 of these things. Kyle can't outrun them because they're on every road, and they don't forget. He went to the county to fix it. They told him they couldn't. The case was active, so they wouldn't even say whose warrant he'd been fused to. He's stuck. Here's how he puts it. Once you're in the flock system, it's on you to get out. Hold on to that line. Tonight we're pulling apart the system Kyle is trapped inside. Who built it? How big it actually is? And why the people running it just admitted, in writing, that it was never really under control. This is Flock. Look up next time you're at a red light. That grey box bolted to the pole, the one with the little solar panel, and the lens pointed at the road. You've driven past 1,000 of them. You never registered a single one. Each box is an automatic license plate reader. It photographs every car that passes. Not just the plate, the make, the colour, the dents, the bumper stickers, the roof rack, the crack in your windshield. It timestamps you, tags your location, and uploads all of it to a company called Flock Safety. There are more than 120,000 of these cameras across 49 states. Together they log around 20 billion plate scans a month. Roughly 140,000 people have access to what they collect, spread across more than 6,000 towns and police departments. You were never asked. You never signed anything. You just drove to work and a private company started keeping a record of everywhere your car has been. And it keeps that record. 30 days of your movements are sitting on a server, searchable by anyone with a login. Where you sleep, where you pray, which doctor you see, who you visit at 2 a.m. Flock doesn't need to follow you. It already has the map. Moe? Here's the part that should stop you cold. There is no federal law that requires a warrant to search any of this. A police officer wants to know where your car has been for the last month. He doesn't call a judge. He doesn't open a case. He types your plate into a search bar, and the network hands him your life. No paperwork. No oversight. No one watching the watcher. You can guess what happens when you give 140,000 people that kind of reach and no lock on the door. They used it on each other. They used it on us. The Washington Post found close to 50 documented cases of officers misusing Flock for personal surveillance. In 26 of them, the target was a wife, a girlfriend, an ex, or a woman the officer had decided to pursue. In Georgia, a police chief named Michael Steffman ran 600 searches on his ex-girlfriend and her daughter over a single year. No warrant, no case number. Just a man with a badge watching a woman who wanted nothing to do with him. He was found dead in April, ruled a suicide. In Milwaukee, an officer ran 179 unauthorized searches in 2 months. 55 for a woman he was dating, 124 for her ex. The internal affairs detective assigned to investigate him got caught using the same system to track 2 people of his own. In Wisconsin, an officer used Flock to find out whether his girlfriend had gone to a clinic about ending a pregnancy, then called her up to 19 times a day. In Kansas, a chief tracked his estranged wife's car and used the location to show up while she was with another man. In California, a sheriff's deputy hunted his former fiancée for months, cameras plus a hidden one in her home. A jury convicted him on 10 charges and sent him away for 6 years. In Florida, a sheriff's deputy met a young actress on a TV set, put her plate on a Flock hot list, and started getting a ping every time her car moved. When one came in, he raced to intercept her and nearly hit another driver head-on. Florida has more than 7,500 of these cameras and no state law restricting them at all. None of these men hacked anything. They logged in, the system did exactly what it was built to do. It just did it for them instead of against a suspect. And when the audits finally ran, the arrests came in clusters. 18 officers charged across Georgia. 5 former officers in Albany, taken in on a single day in July. 6 fired in Savannah in 1 week. Those are the ones a department chose to catch. The system logs every search. Almost nobody reads the logs. So this is the moment the company would like you to relax. On August 13th, Flock's CEO stood up and announced the fix. Starting in January, an audit tool will flag strange search patterns and lock out the user. Retention drops from 30 days to 7. Officers will have to enter a case code before they search. Emergency overrides get flagged for review. Departments can even block outside searches for certain crimes. Sounds like accountability. Read it again. Every one of those guardrails runs on the honour system, inside the same police departments that produced the abuse. The audit tool watches for abnormal searching, but a chief looking up his wife's car once a week doesn't spike anybody's chart. The case code is a box you type anything into. 7 days instead of 30 still means a week of your movements, waiting. A lawyer at the Institute for Justice called it window dressing, that leaves the real problem untouched. The ACLU called the changes retreads, because none of it puts a judge between an officer and your location. That door still has no lock. Flock just promised to write down who walks through it. Now widen the lens, because the stalking is the small version of this. The reason a bored cop can find his ex in seconds is the same reason this network is dangerous in ways that have nothing to do with him. 20 billion scans a month, tied to plates, held in one place, reachable without a warrant. That's not a tool for catching one criminal. That's a searchable history of how an entire country moves. Point it at a protest and you have every plate that parked near it. Point it at a clinic, a mosque, a union hall, a rehab centre, and you have a list of everyone who came and went. The people who built this will tell you it's for finding stolen cars and missing kids, and sometimes it is. But a system doesn't care what you pointed at. It just answers. That's not a hypothetical anymore. One of the January guardrails lets a department block outside searches tied to immigration enforcement. Read that backwards. The only reason to add that switch is that departments were already running the country's plate history to hunt people down for immigration, and enough of them got caught that Flock needed a setting for it. The switch is off by default. You've heard the reflex. I've got nothing to hide. Kyle Dausman had nothing to hide either. A typo put him in the machine, and the machine decided he was a threat, and no amount of innocence has gotten him out. When the record is automatic and the search needs no reason, hiding was never the question. Being in the file is. And you are in the file. If you drive, you're already in it. So what do you actually do about a camera you didn't consent to and can't take down? Start by finding out how exposed you are. A site called Have I Been Flocked pulls together the public audit logs some departments release, so you can see how often your area is searched and by whom. It's incomplete because plenty of departments hide their logs, but it turns an invisible system into something you can point at. Change how predictable you are. These cameras build patterns. Same route, same times, same stops, day after day, and the map of your life fills itself in. Vary it where you can, then get loud, because this one won't be solved from your driveway. More than 50 agencies have already dropped or paused their Flock contracts since the start of this year. 6 employees in Savannah got fired for unauthorized searches. Bills sit in Congress right now to force warrants onto this network. The single thing Flock actually responds to isn't a new feature. It's a town council, a sheriff, a state legislator deciding the cameras come down. That pressure comes from people who found out what was already watching them. Kyle's line was, "It's on you to get out." He meant the database. But it's true of the whole thing. Nobody is coming to unplug this for you. The box on the pole already knows your plate. Whether it gets to know your whole life is one of the last parts still up to you. Stay off grid.